So after watching Fast X, it's a lot better than Fast and the Furious 9. But the real question is like, how are you gonna make this one be a trilogy after the stories and the plots and all of the events of what we have seen in this part be a trilogy? Because this is honestly look like this is going to be a part two. Because based on the rumors and based on the interview that Vin Diesel has stated, that most likely he said that the studio wants it to be a trilogy. And that's if the movie makes its money. But if the movie's not going to make its money, then it's not going to be a trilogy. But either way, Fast 10 continuously on doing what Fast and the Furious does, and that is overtopping itself by how ridiculousness that it does by ignoring science, physics, gravity, anything that you can name. Because this man, Dom, is indestructible. Anything that Dom does, he is 100% protected and OP at this point because anything that you do to Dom, it's literally going to backfire because this man cannot get hurt at all. This man continuously just doing things that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is 100% ridiculous because there are going to be some spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but I'm just going to spoil certain aspects because it's really incredible that there are some reviews who do the spoilers free reviews for this film and they were able to do a fantastic job because it's like, how can you not? Because the things that Dom does, you're just like, okay, this is 100% ridiculous at this point. Like there's one scene that Dom, he's literally lifting a car with one hand and has a gun on the other. And yes, he's lifting a car with one hand, Dom. Now, if it was The Rock, you can kind of be like, okay, but still, like, really, Vin Diesel lifting up a car, like, it's just 100%, it just went crazy at this point. And I do like how this movie kind of poke fun at it because there is a scene of what happened through the events of the movie because apparently the agency is literally turning their backs on Dom's group because after this bomb has happened and blew up on Rome, so Dom's group is kind of like suspect number one and they're visualized as a terrorist. So of course the agency has like this new boss. So the new boss is just like, all right, you know what? We got to make this right because after all of the destructions and all the things that Dom's group has, it's like, why are we working with them? I mean, I understand they work with us and they got all the bad guys that they have, but these guys are also dangerous as well. All the property damage and all the things that they have done that pretty much kind of like kill people, it's just there. And on top of that, they even make fun of like, oh, after they're done with their mission, they go on ahead and do this barbecue. And that when they're in the car, they defines the laws of physics and the act of God. Because when he's in a car, all of a sudden the car is like a tank and it's indestructible. It has power and endurance that a normal car wouldn't. And it's just really incredible. And even Don stated that, hey, like, once I'm in this car, don't underestimate me. And then he does some insane stuff that was just like, what? And people in the theater was laughing at the ridiculousness that this movie display, and it's just 100% funny and enjoyment because that adds like the joy of the entertainment of Fast and the Furious. Because the fact that it is that the movie is so over the top but so entertaining that you just have to laugh and kind of just enjoy it because we know when other movies they do that, we're just like, really, we ain't gonna watch this. But then yet you have Fast and the Furious, they're doing all these things. And on top of that, it's really incredible how they kind of like outdo themselves in the previous installments that they normally do. The use positive about this, it was Jason Momoa character because his character, he did a fantastic job. He overact and he was one of the bright spot about it because he kind of know that he's in the Fast and the Furious franchise and he just played with it. And he honestly carried this movie, in my opinion, because how he played the role, like his role was playing like the Joker, how sinister he is, how very well strategic, and how much like he's like 10 step ahead, but he's also very goofy and dangerous. Like he's very goofy. He makes jokes and everything else. And there's even certain scenes that he's just painting dead bodies' toenails. He's like, oh, I gotta go wash my hair while someone go ahead and find you and bury you guys. And it's just very crazy. And it's just showcased like how much well connected he is because he's able to have the agency back him up. He's able to have police back him up. He's able to have his own henchmen, and even the henchmen that is after Dom, he's able to get them on their side and overthrow their leader. So, he's very well, much of a dangerous character, but he's also a good villain that, the Fast and the Furious character needs, which is very well good. So yeah, John Cena's character as well is very interesting, and he's very funny, especially with his relationship with Dom's son. So that was just very good. And Brie Larson's character, she did a fantastic job as well. But everyone else, it just seems as if that this is just like a regular job to them because, of course, this is their 10th time that they're doing this, and there's certain storylines that is not very well fleshed out because there's so many characters that's happening in this movie because they're all separated, so they're all doing their own things, but most of their storyline are not very well fleshed out, or they don't have the same impact as most stories are, because with the whole big cast that they have, a lot of the subplots are overtaking what the main plot is. And it just seems as if that when they focus on like certain plots, that the other ones are either forgotten and they don't have the same effects. And because it's crazy, because there's certain storylines that it still needs to be resolved, like Han when he sees Jason Statham's character, how they kind of like just drop that attention to that storyline, that how Jason Statham's character literally tried to kill him, but then Han is alive and everything else. And they try to like go more into it, but then they just cut it off because they're just like, hey, we got to kind of focus on that main plot. So we have the bad guys there. So the bad guys are pretty much the reason why they're in peace and everything else, which was just 100% just trash, but whatever. But either way, like the cutting scenes, because we focusing on Dom, then we're focusing on John Cena's character with his son, then we're focusing on Han and Roman and Ludacris characters, and then we're focusing on Michelle Rodriguez. So there's just so much that is going on. So when there's certain scenes that it needs to be important, that we kind of need to stay there to like the final end of it, like it just get cuts off in the middle. So the effects of what we're watching, you don't really get the full effect of it, especially with Michelle Rodriguez, with her character, how she beat up, the previous lady that's trying to kill Dom and his group. How like after they have their fight or everything else, we see them realize that they're in Antarctica, but we don't know that. So while Michelle Rodriguez, after she beat her up, she tries to escape, and then but before we even see her try to escape, the whole scene cuts, because after she beats her, we go and focus on the other groups as well. And then 15 minutes later, we go see Michelle Rodriguez try to escape. And then literally she realized that she's in Antarctica, and then she goes back and try to ask for help. And that's supposed to be like a comedy aspect, but you're not going to have that same effect, because if you just kind of focus on the fight and then her trying to escape and all in one scene, then it will have more of a big aspect of it. But other than that, yeah, more characters that died actually comes back because Gail Gadot's character, she